Hello, welcome my dear students. I am very happy to present before you the flipped class sessions of English language developed under the World Bank project, Institutional Development Plan of National Agricultural Higher Educational Project implemented by the University of Agricultural Sciences, Dharwad. So welcome back students. So in the last session, we learned certain topics or certain points related to the presentation skills, and it was half done. So today we are going to continue the topics related to the presentation skills. Okay, so welcome. Next is we are going to think about, or we are going to discuss about the don'ts in a presentation. Certain things are there we should not do in a presentation. Now what are those? Don't gather insufficient information. Okay, so you should not gather the information which is half done or half complete. Okay, so don't mix up the data, don't muddle, don't mix up the data whatever you have now collected. So don't use too much dazzling designs of slides. Okay, so whenever you present, you prepare the slide, don't use too much attractive or too much of designs on your slides. Okay, so the zoom in, zoom out, or the popping up of the next slide should not be very dazzling like. Okay, so don't use fonts which are difficult to be read from a distant place. As I already told you that the slides, the fonts or the letters should be readable. Okay, so don't try to jumble the order of your slides. Okay, so don't try to jumble the order of your slides. If it is in a proper order, be it as it is. Okay, so don't exaggerate the topics. Now whenever you have the topic or whatever the topic you are going to present, don't try to make more impression about that. Make it a very slight impression, but it should be acceptable by the audiences. Don't give too much of exaggeration about the topic. Okay, so don't pay attention to one person or one particular group in the entire presentation. Okay, right? So next is don't use more than 7 bullet points in one slide. So whenever you prepare one slide and you are going to add the bullet points, so make sure that the bullet points should not exceed more than 7. Maximum 7 is acceptable, and that whenever you present it on the screen, it will be readable for the audiences. Okay, right? So don't use more than 7 bullet points in one slide, but use a new slide if there are more than 7 or more bullet points. Okay, right? So don't try to avoid critical questions from the audience. So when the audience asks you question which is very critical, so don't try to run away from there, don't try to elope from there. Okay, right? So be confident that, as I told you, that you should have proper information about the topic. Okay, so don't stretch your speech. So when you have or when you discuss on one particular bullet point, don't try to don't try to stretch your speed. Don't go on with a lengthy conversation. Okay, so don't mismatch your speed and the slideshow. So when the slide appears on the screen and till it ends, your speed of the speech should also coincide with the same. So when you complete your speech, the next slide should appear and you should be able to shift immediately to the next slide. Okay, so don't get agitated in the presentation. So when somebody asks you the question or when somebody interrupts you, don't get agitated. Don't feel like you're not going to hit them. Okay, so make it, accept it, make it in a polite way, accept those things, and just do what the things are possible at that particular situation. Okay, so don't feel envy about anyone. That means you should not think that this person is an enemy of me or this person is not related to me. So those sort of mindset you should not present it during the presentation, and don't even get nervous about your presentation. Okay, so next is, don't have negative impression on anybody. Okay, when you are giving the presentation and the audience, when you see certain audiences, so you should not have a negative impression, because they might feel like, you are already an arrogant person, or if you think that this person doesn't know anything, so it also be a possibility that he knows much about you, or much more about whatever you know about the topic. Okay, so don't underestimate any audience. Never underestimate any audience. They might be poor, or they might be much more intelligent than you people, okay, than us. Okay, so don't use harsh or swear words. So swear words means I promise, I give up, that, this. So you should not use certain words. Okay, and don't use even harsh words. Don't even try to scold people about that when we have a presentation. Okay, so don't show or say any non-factual information when you give a presentation. So don't show any non-factual information, that means which is not related or which is not at all a fact and figure about the topic. Okay, so those things should be avoided. Okay, so don't neglect any advice, suggestion or remarks from the audience. So during the presentation or after the presentation, if the audience give you any remark, or if they give you any suggestion, or if they advise you anything, so don't neglect it. Take it as a positive aspect, and try to match up or try to patch up your mistakes if you have if you have committed during the presentation. Okay, so don't force anyone to believe your words. Okay, so you should not force anybody. You should not compel anybody to tell them that, whatever I am telling, it is true. You should believe it. So that concept should be avoided during the presentation. Okay, so don't be self-centered. That means you should not have like, I'm the only person who is there to have a presentation, and others are, they are not at all related to me, or they are lower to me. Okay, so that sort of attitude should not be there during the presentation. Okay, so don't set or point out, any audience as an example. Okay, so when you are speaking during your presentation, during your speech, so never take any one of the audiences as your example. So if you want to give an example, take it as, Mr. X, Mr. A, Mr. N, like this. Okay, you can tell some other person's name, but not the audience name. Okay, so don't have grudge on anybody. Okay, so grudge means, so previously he might have hurt you. Okay, or he might have hurt your feelings. Okay, so taking that grudge in your mind, so never have the grudge on any person in the hall. Okay, so don't use too much of deodorants or strong smelling perfumes. Okay, some people may like it, or some people may not even like it. They try to close their nose. Okay, they try to move away from you when you approach them. Okay, so never use too much of deodorants or strong smelling perfumes. So never be stern, stiff or serious looking. Okay, so never present yourself as very serious person, or very stern, or very nervous looking. So the nervousness should not be there during the entire presentation. So don't miss out any points which are to be delivered. So when you give the presentation, so don't miss, or don't try to come out of the topic, or even don't try to forget the points which are not to be told. Okay, so something which is not related to the topic, don't say, but something which is related to the topic, never even leave out. Okay, next up, don't forget to wish, welcome, congratulate and thank the audience. So during the presentation or at the end of the presentation, first wish, then try to welcome them. So whenever they give you certain examples or something, try to congratulate them. If they have achieved anything during the process of your presentation, try to congratulate them, and at the end of the thing, thank each and every person or each and every audience present in the hall. Okay, so don't include any bullet points in the slide that contains images, graphs, tables or charts, okay, all in one. Make it separate. Okay, so don't consider yourself as an expert or an all-rounder. So certain people are there, they say that I'm the best presenter, I'm the best presenter, I can give anything I want. So that sort of attitude should not be there. Okay, that should not be presented, or that should not be shown, okay, during the presentation. Okay, so don't stammer, use fillers, or don't even repeat the words already said. Okay, so whatever you have said previously, don't try to keep on repeating. Okay, don't even stammer, don't say da, this, all these things should be avoided. Okay, so don't perspire in the sense, don't try to sweat during the presentation. Don't look here and there if you don't have any answer. Okay, so if you don't have any answer, some people try to see here, there, something like this, some sort of, so that should be avoided. Okay, so don't use much of no, not, never or any negative words. Okay, so in the presentation, so instead of that, use certain discourse markers or certain conjunctions. Okay, so if you want to say something and which has a negative idea, okay, which has a negative idea related to the topic, now you want to say something which is related to no or not or never or something like that, so don't directly use that words. Instead of that, you can use certain, contradictory or some sort of negative related to conjunctions or discourse markers. However, because, but can be used during the conversation or during the speech. Okay, so don't read the contents of the slide, but try to explain the contents. Now when the slide is displayed on the screen, and don't just try to read it, so just have a glance at the point and just make the explanation, but don't try to read it, because they already know, they can read it, but what is the use of you reading on the screen? So don't read it, just try to explain the main content of the point. Okay, so now we are going to see how we are going to design the presentation. Okay, so there are certain time limits and something which you have been given for the presentation, so you should have a particular design. Okay, so what is the exact design? So after you prepare all the slides, everything, now after your rehearsal is over, if you have been allotted about 30 minutes of time for your entire presentation, so what should be your, okay, Anna, hindinde. So if you have been allotted about 30 minutes of time for your entire presentation, how you are going to design it? How you are going to set it right? Okay, so here are certain points. For your introduction, try to make it only for 3 minutes. Don't exceed 3 minutes. Okay, so don't go more than 3 minutes and make it, you're not going to waste your time. Okay, so the main body, that means the main body of your presentation, the presentation of slides, your speech, everything should go for up to 15 minutes. After that, you should take only 2 minutes for the entire conclusion. Okay, so after the conclusion is over, at least you should spare about 10 minutes of time for your questions and answers, the whole discussion. So if we calculate for all these things, that is introduction 3 minutes, main body 15 minutes, conclusion 2 minutes, and as well the question and answer 10 minutes, all comes up to 30 minutes. Okay, so plan accordingly for the time allotted. Okay, so I think so you have understood whatever we have learned today, and take it or make it as a practice, and all the very best for your presentation. Okay, so if you have any queries about this, feel free to ask us in the next session or on the WhatsApp number. So we are there to help you out about the presentation skills. Okay, so thank you very much. Have a nice time. Goodbye.